Today we're going to be talking about Digital Watchdog Spectrum. I know some of you guys are very familiar with it. Some of you may not be, so we're going to be going over different aspects of Spectrum and some items about Blackjack servers. Let me just get this started. Got that up there. There we go. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know how well that's coming through for you guys. There we go. So today we're going to be talking about Digital Watchdog Blackjack servers, Digital Watchdog Spectrum software, how the software functions, what are some of the features and latest improvements of Spectrum. So first, some basics about DW Spectrum. So first off, Spectrum is an open architecture software, so we'll talk more about that. Super to use graphical user interface, so you can train an end user in about 20 minutes to do live view, playback, find stuff that's going on, and then archive that video. All our features, the enterprise features, are standard. So you only have one version of Spectrum. You don't have to worry about if you get the consumer version or the business version or the pro version or an enterprise version. You have one version has all the features. It is part of a complete IP solution, which means we have our servers, we have cameras, we have the software, we have encoders. We have yet to charge for a software update. Some folks on this call have been using it for a long time. Again, you have to charge for a software update and scalable to 1 to thousands of devices. So there are installations of Spectrum with Blackjack servers that have 4,000 and 5,000 cameras in them, covering a wide range of sites. So for that, we'll move on and sort of explain the open architecture cross-platform stuff. So the recording engine itself runs on Windows and Linux operating systems, but we have client software that runs on Windows as far back as Windows 8 64-bit, I think, Windows 10, Linux 1604, 64-bit 1804, and 2004 client, and Mac up to the latest OS. And also we have the mobile apps, which are iOS and Android compatible. We have the web client, which is improved because of our cloud integration, runs on Chrome, Internet Explorer if you want, Safari, Firefox, really designed for a Chrome browser. So I guess the new version of Explorer is Edge. So Microsoft Edge, Chrome, Safari, Firefox. One of the things we're going to talk about, because it is cross-platform, is we have an integration with Control4 home automation. So Control4 can pull data and video from us, and we can likewise have data come from Control4 to do perform functions in Spectrum. We also have our DW Site Viewer software for Apple TV, and every installation has the API and SDK built in. So if someone just wants to make a call from a device, you write a piece basically of one line code, and you can make a call to force a camera to pop up on someone's phone or someone's PC or whatever. So the API and SDK is all built in. And again, talking about open architecture, we have a ton of integrations. DMP, we've got Linnell, IronUne, which is your video analytics, Identicard, Ultronics, Paxton Communication, RBH, which is again has access control, Hartman controls, all different kinds of devices and video analytics, ShotSpotter, SureView systems, PlateSmart. Matter of fact, let me show you a little bit of what one of the integrations can do. This was a video supplied to us. And it basically shows plate smart and spectrum. So the camera is set at full screen. This vehicle's going in there and it's actually creating a bookmark. Plate smart has detected the plate of the camera, approximately what kind of vehicle it is, and then it's putting in the license plate. So all these items will be searchable and downloadable in Spectrum. And of course, you know, the application in this car wash is, car comes in, guy says there was a scratch on it. There's a number of cameras as the vehicle pulls in and as it leaves to kind of prove, hey, that vehicle came in and left fine. You know, something else happened somewhere else. But it'll identify the vehicle by the license plate, by its type. And again, you can see we can zoom in using the Spectrum software. So they can have a very good record that's easy to find and really never leave the Spectrum software in order to do it. So one of the other things with integration is we have our C2p platform. So what this is this is a third-party platform. As I always use the term, a black box. So it's a black box that takes data from asset tracking, point of sale, license plate if you want, ATM machines, POS, weight scales, all these different things out there, and normalizes the data and then puts that data into Spectrum. So it's searchable and put in by camera and by where it needs to be, so that whether it's asset tracking, whether it's license plates, whether it's point of sale, whether it's banking, the camera that needs the data will have that data assigned to it, so it's easy to search on those items. So again, these are just one of the things where we have this integration piece you can do to get, I think it's over here, it says 38 new third-party integration system. The big one with this is POS, because it can handle a lot of cash registers, so your larger installations. But again, all those other things I mentioned make it very easy to use Spectrum. So one of the things we brag about, and it's absolutely true, is the Spectrum software is super easy to use. Really easier to use than any other VMS on the market. We don't make it very confusing. Matter of fact, I am going to pull up Spectrum over here, and I can drag over a camera. Let's find a good camera. That's a pretty good one. Drag over a camera, and I can say, okay, I want to search for motion next to this car over here. And it's going to show me all the motion events that happened by this car. So we can go back to sometime yesterday, the 24th, and it's going to go. And again, we're on Zoom and pulling data from our office, but it's showing those people going by and then climbing into their cars. Probably 12:29 is probably going to lunch there. So again, very easy to use interface, very easy to find data. And we're going to talk more about the interface in a few. So that makes it easier to view, search, and find things, and then download the video. Another feature is the enterprise features. So it has multi-server capability built in. Don't have to buy a different version to get multi-server capability. You just have to have multiple servers. Centralized management, okay? But there is no single server that's a dedicated server. So if one server has a problem, the other servers can take over. And if people need to normally we're logging into server X, they can still log into server Y. Okay. As a matter of fact, they will do automatic failover. If it can't find that server, it'll find another one. All the data, the pertinent data, the user names, the camera names, all the small information about, you know, you've checked this box, so it, you know, forces a log out after 10 minutes of no activity or whatever. All that stuff is synchronized. So if you did, you know, have a server take a spike, have a problem, you can pull out the server, put in a new one, and that server can take over from the function of the other one. Okay. And again, all these things are synchronized between it. Other enterprise features are LDAP and Active Directory integration for users. We, of course, have our cloud. Your users, you can see as few cameras and playback as little as possible, including down to nothing. We also have an audit trail, so you can actually see what people are doing in the systems. Health monitoring, which shows you, you know, basic aspects of the system health. And we also have this in our cloud connection. So you can actually see this and more information in the cloud. But if you just want to get a snapshot of what's going on server X, we can then take our thing, highlight it and say, okay, we're using this much CPU, not too bad. RAM, we're getting a quick write to C to D, which might have just been me connecting to it. We're using 6% of this one and very little on this one, which is probably not really a connection to a server. So you can see you can get some basic information right from the client if you have permission to get it. So video storage analytics will give you insight into how much data is being used, how much time is being recorded. You can see if there's any data hogs that are cameras, maybe someone logged in, used up, cranked out a couple cameras up to 30 frames a second. All of a sudden, you're not getting as much storage as you wanted to. And you can use the audit trail to tell you who did that. We also have the ability to go and add a video wall functionality to it. So you can remote control and remotely manage the client. So you can have a PC with, let's say, a 4-monitor out on it, plug those 4 monitors in, and you can remote control what goes on those monitors. So if you wanted an alert, monitor number 3, if there's motion detection or something like that on a certain camera, it'll pop up on a certain monitor. All right. So what do we mean by part of a complete IP solution? As I said before, we got the servers, we have the Megapix cameras, we have the encoders, and it's all tied together with the Spectrum VMS. So we're also have these things very tightly integrated together. So should be no problem deploying a complete Spectrum system. But because of the way Spectrum is designed, also works great with many other manufacturers' cameras. Last time I checked our integration sheet, which is online, I think we had 11,000 devices that work with Spectrum. So keeps going up. Again, lifetime updates are included. We have yet to charge for a software update. You can force updates to servers. You can have it stay at the same version if you want. And then when the company's ready to do an update, you can do an update. There's lots of things you can do with this thing, but we yet to charge for a software update, which is the key part. Scalable from 1 to thousands of devices. So what that means is we have some hardware we're going to talk about later called our CAS cameras that have the Spectrum, the storage, and everything built into them. So you don't need a server. You just need to hang the camera or cameras, and you've got a surveillance system that has all the same features of so far what I've been showing you and a few more. We also have the DW Spectrum Cloud Connect. So the cloud service allows you to connect really easily. We're using email addresses for that. And we can manage systems very simply, and we can merge, which means we can have multiple servers under the same cloud account, and share it with an unlimited number of users and use their email addresses to share. And if you've ever had customers, with some products saying, oh, I need to reset the password on this, whatever, you don't even have to be involved in the password reset. Is they can just go to a web page, request a password reset, and they're sent an email, and they reset the password themselves. So very easy to reset the passwords. So let's talk about some special Spectrum features. So first off, multi-server capability. So again, we've got our 3 servers here, 2 in Cerritos and 1 in Tampa, and I can just drag cameras from one server to another to line them up the way I want. If I'm doing any of my surveillance, I can keep an eye on things, go up to the other server, drag those cameras over. And again, we keep them with their model names. So if we're looking to show a customer something, rather than saying front left southeast camera, front right southeast camera, the whole thing, you're not, we're doing it because we're showing people models of cameras and what they can do. This happens to be a 180-degree camera down here. So some of the other features is, of course, we support almost all 360 fisheye cameras. And I say almost all because it's pretty much all, but there might be one weird one out there that we don't support because we're doing the dewarping, the fisheye support on the client side. So it's very easy for us to handle the different types of fisheye cameras and the different products. So I'm just letting it create little zoom windows here. And if you notice, it's straightening everything out. It's lining everything up right. Now I'm going to close those. And, you know, we can also do where we treat the camera like a PTZ camera, except it's not. It's all recording this. So this will happen in playback. We can also, though, treat it like a PTZ camera and actually have presets and actually have that whole window zoom around. As you can see, I'm in the 360 mode, 90-degree mode, 180-degree mode, and zoom around and keep an eye on stuff, but really be recording that whole view. Spectrum motion detection. So this is the motion detection that when you plug a camera in, Spectrum's already doing it, and you can highlight an area. And like we've got video going back to January 2nd, and highlight an area, and it'll play back only the motion events that happened in that line right there. So those guys shadow crossed in there, and you can just continue to play it back. Cars pulling in, doing whatever you want. So it makes it very easy to drill down and play back the pertinent video you want to see from it with no extra cost, no video analytics, no extra setup. You make sure that camera's there, it's pointed to the right spot, and you're able to play back the motion events that happen in that area very easily and play back hours and hours of motion in a few minutes, you know, because you can get it down to one of those little blocks and play it back. Let's see, let's go on to next here. Sorry, guys. So we also support video analytics from cameras. So our cameras have built-in video analytics. A few other manufacturers have video analytics built in. So these are areas, intrusion areas and lines that are actually built into the camera, and then it will detect the objects, whether it's a vehicle, a person, or whatever. And then it will, if I wanted to, tell it to display that a vehicle crossed a line, or there's a, you know, an intrusion in this area, or I've set up a thing for larger trucks or smaller trucks to classify. So we can get video analytics from cameras. Okay, so objects on the edge, making it, you're buying less hardware because you're not putting in a little extra server that's producing analytics. And also you're setting it up and getting the direct setup from the camera, the direct data from the camera right to the server. So, and again, it's less, I want to put less costly because it is less costly also. So next thing we're going to talk about is easy to use PTZ controls. So built into Spectrum, I'm going to activate the PTZ controls, and we can zoom in and out with them, with those on the side. We can log in. Now I caught this yesterday. All right. And it is an almost accident right in front of our building. So I had to add it in, and almost, they actually didn't hit each other, but you can zoom in and out. You can force the camera to go left and right, and we'll just play that one more time. Because it almost was like a hit, but they both stopped each other. They both knew where they were going. That. So you also have presets built into it and tours. So I'm firing the tours and the presets from Spectrum. So I'm going to open up and say, I'm going to go to what I call parking 1, parking 2. Now I can have these presets triggered by video analytics. I can have these presets triggered on schedule. I can have them triggered on motion, plain motion, but I can have it zoom back and forth, and we can control the camera or manually control the camera off it. So again, you got presets, you got tours in there. I think it's up to 250 presets, and at least 10 tours you can have in there. So the other thing on special features is system event log. So as an administrator, you can go in and see events, camera went down, we've got something happened, packet loss, this and that in there. You can also check out your DW cloud connection, your IPs that are connected, but also we have the audit trail. And so the audit trail, oh, here we go. We got all the cameras connected to it. I'll wait till I get over to the audit trail. There we go. Audit trail. And we can go in and see who was watching live, who exported video, if camera camera items were changed, if server items were changed, if someone triggered an event rule, someone changed email settings, or if an email was sent, go in and say, hey, look, Paul was watching live, playing back. These are the different IPs he was logging in from. Okay. So again, you get this whole audit trail and look and see what's going on in the system. So a very good addition that's used. You can see if there's a person who's logged in, whose desktop is logged in for 10 hours a day, you're like, well, what's going on here? You can go in and limit their session. So this way, if they're leaving a PC running for no reason and just logged into, Spectrum, and even after they go to lunch or whatever, you can limit the session to, let's say, 1 minute. And if there's no activity, it'll disconnect, or an hour, or 10 hours, or whatever you want to make it, and then force a disconnection on those to save on bandwidth. I mean, that's a bandwidth saver, especially if people start popping up, 10, 20 cameras. So what we're going to talk about now is our Megapix camera and our IVA cameras. So Megapix IVA is pretty much in the near future, all of our cameras, except for maybe one or two, are going to have video analytics built into them. Okay. And I know we're releasing, I know you guys we're probably in our last one, one or two and before I talked about our 4K cameras. And I got a question from John. Can I use third-party OnVIF cameras with ins and outs and control the ins and outs with soft triggers and Spectrum? John, you should be able to. It will depend a little on the manufacturer and how they manage OnVIF. So it will depend on that a little bit. On our Spectrum website, we have our Spectrum compatibility list, and it'll actually tell you if that brand camera, so brand X, brand Y, whatever, you can see if it has IO and if the IOs are supported. Okay, so, and we can talk about a specific camera if you want. Send me an email and I'll be glad to just shoot you back. Anyway, so let's talk about a little bit about IVA. So IVA is our on the edge analytics, as I talked about before, that Spectrum can manage, Spectrum can see and manage. So these analytics are intrusion, line crossing, loitering, enter, exit, object left, object removed, tailgating, direction, stopped, appear, disappear, and what we call logical rules, which are the ability to have 2 rules or 3 rules or 4 rules that if only 2 of them are violated, it doesn't create an alert. 3 of them are violated, but if all 4 of them are violated, so if a person crossed a line, loitered in an intrusion zone, did something else, then it would create an alert or create a reaction from the system. The reaction could be flash an illuminator at somebody, or send out a notification or an email or whatever to people. So those are all your analytics built into the camera. Okay. And so we can go in and see, go into camera settings. Come on, camera rules. There we go. Go into camera rules, and we can add the rules. We look by going to here and going analytic event, and then it will tell you what cameras are supported. If a camera doesn't have analytics support, it'll actually show red. Click OK. Then you choose your analytics. Let's say you I probably created a line cross here, so probably line cross. Oops, stopped. There we go. And if you want, you can put a caption or description there, but you can leave those blank. And then you can decide if it's on a schedule, if it only starts after 5 o'clock at night. You can have it show desktop notification. This happens to be car or truck, stopped in front of the building. And then you can decide what you want to do with it. So you can have a bookmark, camera output, HTTP request. Then again, you choose your camera. You can say, okay, I can have this event overlaid on other cameras. So if there's another camera also looking at that spot, it can say car or truck stop, then it will pop up on the camera and bookmark it. Okay. So I can do those different things, or again, send out alerts or whatever. So this one is important. I'm actually going to pause this a little bit, because when setting up see it caught that vehicle there, is this camera is not, I don't think, aimed right. Is there's a little too much sky in here, a little too much tree, but you can set up non-detect zones. So this way, the camera, the analytics is ignoring those areas for detection. And down here, this zone is a loitering zone. So if a person's just sitting in front of the building and stops there and is, smoking, leaving cigarette butts down, whatever, it creates an alert. So your non-detect zones are as important as your detection zones. All right, as you can see here, under your objects, it's actually showing, saying, okay, we saw a car, we saw a truck, something unclassified came by. That happened to be a truck. So vehicles going by. So it can detect it and tell you. Okay, so I got another question. Hold on one second. Just pause it. All right. Michael asked, if you want multiple actions to happen, do you need to make a separate rule for each action? Or do you set multiple actions for one event? So if you want multiple actions to happen, you create a rule. You only need one action in the camera. So let's say you had a line cross and it was detecting people. You then go into Spectrum and say, I want that to send and turn on a digital watchdog illuminator. And I want to send a notification to X person, and I want it to pop up on someone's desktop. You could create 3 rules for that one event coming from the camera, if that makes any sense. If you're worried about, you have the camera looking during the day and night at the same spot, and you're worried about false alarms, you could create 2 rules within the camera, which again, we call the logical rule. And, if 2 things happen, that's 99.9% of the time it is a person rather than a shadow or a bug on the screen or just something happening just right that might, create an event. Let's see. Got another question here. I usually answer these at the end, but I will answer, whoops. I'll answer this one also. I'm just trying to get to it. Do you handle playing an audio message or 2-way communication with line cross settings? Do you have a way to store and play the message once the line is crossed? The answer is yes. You can have an audio message play, you can store it in Spectrum, and you can have it play once the line is crossed. So the answer is yes, Dave. You just have to have the audio device out there for them to hear it. All right, so let's continue on. I think I'm still paused here. Yeah, so this was just showing you the objects. Come on. My Spectrum doesn't want to cooperate more. There we go. So in setting up logical rules, you guys will see this in a second. You can actually do it from the Spectrum client. So I can log into the camera. I go to IVA and I click rules, and I have a couple rules created, and I click logical rule, and then I choose my rules, and then I say, okay, how much time between each rule? So if something happens, let's say it happens within 2 seconds, the 2-second rule, then it'll go off. But if it's 3 seconds, it's taken too long, it won't go off, or vice versa. So you set up the timing, and then you can give it a name. You could call it, parking lot, after hours, people, whatever you want to name it, as far as how you want it to work, function. So again, quick setup of rules and actions is you can go in, choose your analytic event, choose your camera, choose what you want it to do. So this one happens to be, I think this one is logical rule, because we're choosing logical rule. So that's the only thing you have to choose. You don't have to choose 2 events. You have the camera do it, and then you tell it to bookmark. Matter of fact, I'm going to try to pause this thing. There we go. You can have a bookmark, trigger an alarm output, trigger camera recording. Maybe you've only got a small amount of storage. You can have it talk to a third-party device. That's do HTTP request. So it'll send a TCP command to another device to do something. PTZ camera nearby, you can have it execute a PTZ preset. Panic record, basically it tells a camera or cameras to jump to 30 frames a second. Repeat a sound, send an email, mobile notification, desktop notification, text overlay. So you can have it play sound, repeat a sound, text to speech. If you have it speak and you actually type in, warning, and it comes out with that sort of robot voice, which no one cares about. And you can have it write to log, open a layout, pop up on full screen. But in Play a Sound, you can actually import, I think they're WAV files. You might be able to use MP3s. I haven't imported in a while, and put in a custom audio message if you want, which is what Dave was asking before. But you can do all that in Spectrum. So one of the things I want to show you is how the notifications work and what they look like on a mobile device. So here we've got a line cross set up for cars. Car crosses, line cross goes out. It goes out within a second. It is almost instantaneous. Okay. And that's what it'll look like on your, on your phone, whether it's a Android device or an iOS device. If you have a lot of stuff running on your iOS device, I notice you receive it a little slower than with an Android device. So I have noticed the Android seems a little faster, but it's like within half a second usually. So it's very quick. Someone will get a notification. They can click that little icon. They're connected to their thing. Now, a couple of things they need. Of course, they need the Spectrum app installed on their device. They need to have the Spectrum app logged into their cloud account, and then the system logged into a cloud account in order to receive the notification. If for some reason the customer doesn't want to do cloud, you can have email sent, but then it's sent to an email client. Okay, so just to be clear on this. So one of the things I mentioned very early was compatibility with 1 to thousands of devices. So we have this product called CAS, okay? And what CAS is camera as a system. So we take everything that's in a normal, server. So we've got servers that handle 8 cameras, 16 cameras, 24 cameras max, 128 cameras, 200 cameras max, 310 terabytes of storage. But we put the same feature set. Everything I showed you that Spectrum does, okay, can be done in a CAS camera, okay? Now, the CAS cameras do not have the analytics built in, but we're going to have a little thing for that later on, okay? Can't tell you anymore because we're going to show a bunch of stuff at the ISC show. So these have the storage, Spectrum server pre-installed. They support the cloud, 5-year warranty. You can put 30 into a system or just one. We have fisheye cameras, license plate cameras, 6 to 50 millimeter, so real strong lenses, some fixed lens domes, IP66, IP67 rated models also. So again, same functionality. If you want any device, if you want a Mac, you can get up to 30 days of retained video, very bandwidth conscious and very power conscious. Again, same functionality. So 24/7 live playback, activity-based search. I showed you the motion detection, auto software updates if you want. You can add capacity using a NAS, multi-user access. And if you're using the DW Cloud, no ports needed to open. So all the features of Spectrum without the server. So we're going to log into a CAS camera that's actually being used by a customer. They've got 2 cameras out at their site, and they didn't want a black box or anything. And you log in and view the camera. So each of these cameras is basically a separate server in that CAS system. So it'll pull up. I think these are in Minnesota. This is like fall, I think, there when I made this video. You can go in and do your motion detection search, all the stuff, web pages, all that, and very easy to set up. So you need a PoE switch, internet connection, CAS cameras. You give them an IP. You make sure they can get to get to the internet, connect them to the cloud. And again, you don't have to connect them to the cloud, but connect them to the cloud just makes it connectivity a lot easier. And away you go, the recording, and then you can set them for 1 frame a second, 2 frames a second, 5, 10, 30 frames a second. We do up to 128 gigs storage per camera. So if you had 10 cameras, you got, what's that, terabyte of storage or so in there that you can divide up among them and set different speeds and different cameras for connectivity. And as I said, you want to plug a NAS into that same switch, you can get extended storage and backup via network attached storage. So one of the things we released, I think it was this week, is a new version of Ipfinder. It's not earth shaking, but you go out, it you plug your cameras into your network and you need to do a camera password reset or something like that, or you want to set new passwords in the camera, or you want to do change all the IPs in them, that's the Ipfinder will do that also, including bulk firmware upgrade. So under the password assigning IP settings, you can also do a factory reset now. So let's say you had a bunch of cameras, you wanted to, something weird was going on in the network and you wanted to just factory reset them. You can go in, factory reset them, set everything back up, and then reset their IPs. That's now under the IP assignment, or you can just assign the IPs. Make sure you got the correct username and password for the admin user or a user that has admin rights to the cameras. And you can change it. And then you can go in here and set whether you're setting it for DHCP or static. It'll get it. Then you can say, I want to record default. I want to default this one camera. It's acting weird. Go to the camera website, force a restart. Okay, all from the Ipfinder software. You don't have to go into Spectrum to do this. This runs on Windows and Linux. Okay, so they released a Linux version 3 or 4 months ago. Go in, you can do bulk password assignment. So you can, put in whatever the current, default password is. I think our cameras, we have a default user that doesn't do anything called admin, and then you create a new strong password over here that's at least 8 characters with one special character. All the instructions are down here. Maybe put a hint in, and then you can change all the passwords and all the cameras in one shot. Okay. Believe it'll handle up to 250 cameras at one time. I did 75 cameras at one time. For some reason, it wouldn't put a new password in one of them. I hit that one again, and it redid the password. So again, if you're not using our Ipfinder, or you think you might have downloaded it like 6 months ago, download a new version, put it on a USB key, whatever, keep your software tricks on, and you can go in and do that. And then, let's see, did I get one more question here? Dave asked, how many cloud accounts on each install server can have per site? So each server is allowed to have one cloud account on it. But let's say you had a customer that had 25 sites. You'd use one cloud account for them, okay? And have all 25 sites. And again, I wouldn't recommend you using your email, but have a corporate email from the customer, unless you want to. Corporate email from the customer, like NVR access or tech or security at companyxyz.com, and create a cloud account using that. So this way it can be managed there. But anyway, so each site can have its own cloud account, which means a separate email address is being used, or you can have them all on one cloud account and dole out access to them. So it's really up to you. If you want, like, send me an email. We'll chat about deploying it. Let's see, we've got another question. Looks like we're going to hit all the questions. Dave's asking, does the Ipfinder work with other manufactured cameras to reset passwords on the camera? I've tried it with a couple ones. Some it works, some doesn't. It's really designed for our cameras, though. So Tony's asking, I guess you're asking, do we have any cameras with built-in amplified audio in cameras? We have an audio out, which is like a line out. So you would need like an amplified speaker or something like that to push it out. I know some companies make like an IP speaker. You can push audio through that. But yeah, anyway, one more thing. We're going to just talk about one more thing here. And that is what we have coming up. So if you look on the screen here, we've got the DW Insider. We're doing that one now, which is Spectrum Blackjack. So on March 10th, guys want to mark this on your calendar, set aside the time. We're going to be adding the ability to do cloud storage to Spectrum. We're going to work with a company called Wasabi, and that's a very good one to log into and find out what's happening, when we're going to release it. We do have a release of our new version of Spectrum at the ISC show. If you're going to the ISC show, Wasabi will be doing some presentations in our booth, and I think they're going to have a kiosk there. So we'll have that for you there also. So that's good. And then on March 17th, I'll be doing a preview. So what we're going to have in the booth, what different products, what we're going to show. And then on April 8th, we're going to do a wrap up. So everything we showed at the booth, you know, everything new, maybe some release dates for you and stuff like that. So if you guys have some more questions, please shoot them at me. I think there's one more buried under here. There you go. Dave is saying, yeah, LaRue, however you pronounce them, makes an amplified speaker. Their stuff is really good. I have never had any complaints about their stuff. They make all different stuff. And now I've got some people with some raised hands. So let me see if I can